start us off. What do you want to talk about?
Hey, well, I'm half of Rebels Compass. Mel couldn't be here today. She's sunning herself or on her way back from Costa Rica, so she'll come back with a nice tan.
Must be nice.
I know. That's one place I'd like to be right now, somewhere in the sun. Well, one of the things that I wanted to share is more and more people are talking about having this feeling within their heart or in that area where they're pushed or feel themselves being pulled in a direction that is out of their comfort zone. Um, that's happened to me on quite a few occasions. And having that feeling where you constantly feel like you're being pulled um, is really powerful. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Ben, where you've felt like you've been pulled in a direction and you feel like you're weighted in a spot and you can't move.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I feel that when it comes to um, doing this sort of stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
being creative with my music or sound editing or stuff like that. I feel like if I'm sat upstairs not doing those things, and I have this like pull, I'm like, okay, I'm wasting my time not doing those things. You have to be. So that's my draw, or the thing that pulls me. Um, is that yeah, if I feel like I'm wasting my time if I'm not being creative or being down here in the studio doing something with my time.
Yeah, so that's a passion in your heart. That's a seed within you to express that creativity, whether it's the drawing that you did when you was younger or, the rap music that you create or doing these podcasts now. That passion evolves, as we learn different things. And one of the things that I've come to know is,
I should probably turn that off.
yeah.
All right, I'll go do that right now. Sorry. So sorry to interrupt there. You were talking about having a passion, being pulled towards something.
Yeah. I mean, kids grow up and they have this desire. I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a nurse, or I want to jump out of an aeroplane. Whatever that is, underneath that is a desire to either create or be of service. And I don't remember ever as a kid having this burning desire to be something. It was never a burning desire to be a nurse or be a
Mm,
burning desire to be in an office or
right.
anything like that. But I always remember from being a very, very, very small age, always wanting to help people. So that's in me.
That's
That's
your
that.
calling.
That's my calling, is to be in service of whatever service that is. But for me, I've had to find the balance in what is being in service and support and what is being in service and taking control and being a detriment to me.
Mm,
So that has been my learning curve over the years, because if I see somebody that needs help in something, that's my immediate instinct is to say, I can help you with that. So I've had to, over the time, change my words and how I feel about that. So instead of saying, I can help you, I can support you.
mm,
So now I'm not doing it for you, which
right.
many, many years ago I would have done.
Mm,
I would have taken somebody by the hand if they needed help with something, and I'd have gone step by step by step and done it for them.
right. So that actually is it. Not only does that not help that person because they've not really learned anything,
That's
depending on what
right.
their situation is, you've just done everything for them, and they say thank you so much. But that actually takes away from you as well because you're going out of your way and stopping yourself from doing things that you should be focusing on in your life and getting your things.
Mm-hmm.
I think so that I can see a detriment also to that sort of you know um, draw to always help people because you can't always help people. There's
That's right.
so I think yeah, there's got to be a line somewhere where you
Yeah,
you know you try to help as much as you can and then say okay, do it on your own. Let me see you walk on your own 2 feet because
that's right.
you can't do everything for everyone
And
all
it,
the
it
time.
is, and it for me it just came natural for me to help people. So within me, I always thought that I was doing the right thing. Now, many years ago, back in the UK, as you'll remember, the one thing that the universe brought around for me was a massive car accident. And that massive car accident stopped me in my tracks.
Mm,
It stopped me for a long time. So then I wasn't the person that could go and help everybody
Right.
because I was physically broken.
Yeah.
I couldn't physically do it anymore. And it became an internal struggle for me. One, asking for help from other people, and the other be able to help, like you, my children, or help people that had always helped before.
Mm.
And it became this internal struggle and this internal conversation where finally one day I woke up inside of me and had this understanding that when I do everything for everybody, I rob them of the power of getting the same pleasure and satisfaction I received from doing something for them. So it probably took me, because I'm extremely stubborn and a hard egg to crack, 18 months or more to start asking people, can you help me with this? And it was alien to me. It was really difficult for me to say to someone, can you help me with that? Because then I felt like it plays into all of that mind chatter that you failed, you're not strong enough, you're weak, you should be able to do this yourself, and plays into all that negative space that's taken up in our brain 90% of the time. So that was the beginning of a massive journey for me that brought me to where I am sat here today. That was the beginning of that. And then I was in a lot of physical pain, so had to do the morphine, which I very quickly came off. And how I ended up on this path started with me going to somebody in the UK for Reiki, for energy work, to help manage pain. And that's how I came off the morphine that I was on. But then that thirst for knowledge of, I know there's more than this, set me on this path of me discovering me. And every single solitary road we go down, right or wrong, every single solitary person we meet is life reflecting back to you who you are and what you can learn about yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I truly believe that too. The greatest triggers of your own personal learning are, observing how other people, make you feel in certain situations, or, it's hard to put into words, I guess, but yeah, I definitely feel like other people are your best mirrors to your own triggers. If someone says something and it makes you mad or upset, it's not that person's fault. You got to ask yourself, well, why did that make me upset? And then reflect on that and come to your own understanding of how you can learn to communicate with other people instead of immediately being angry or upset or whatever the case may be because of what someone else has said. You can, again, process that a little easier and I guess navigate relationships a little better, and just personal communication and relationships better.
I agree, and I think that is a valid thing that you brought up. Nobody can make you angry. Nobody. We do it to ourselves. We become angry at a situation, and it's either because that person triggered something in us that we are like them, that we don't like about ourselves.
Exactly, and that's what I was trying to say. Is they're mirrors of your own. If something triggers you and upsets you, it's not about that person at all. Most of the time, it's about something in you that you have to sit and ponder. And most people don't have that self-awareness to even think about, why is this thing upsetting me? It's just, this thing upset me and I'm down with that thing, and it's just a initial reaction to that, whatever that trigger thing is. But again, it's okay to be triggered by things, of course.
Absolutely.
You're always going to have that initial reaction, but to have that ability to step back and think about it. Okay, why did this trigger me? What can I do in the future where I can approach this differently and not have that reaction of instinct or initial guttural reaction. And it will definitely help you navigate, like I said, through your life a little easier.
It helps you evolve.
Mm.
It helps you evolve and understand you. And the other reason why we get triggered is because of our emotional experiences.
Mm.
So everything that happened from the time you were born um, has an emotional impact. We are emotional beings. It's how we know happy from sad, same as how we know daytime from nighttime.
Mm.
You know, you have these emotional experiences, and because of the entrainment that we have as a child, we hold on to these emotional experiences, and we have this really nice filing cabinet that sits in the brain, a little bit like a hard drive on your computer.
Mm.
And whenever something comes up, could be 20, 30, 40 years later, that triggers that memory, then you react.
Mm.
That's what reaction is. You react to the very first situation. And if that continues to be a theme throughout your life, then you react to that situation. And this has been another part of my personal journey, is understanding why I react so that now I can respond.
Mm.
So if I get angry at something, I look at the whole process of it. And okay, so what was my part in that? Why am I getting angry? Is there something emotional in me that I really need to take a look at and explore that so I can let go of that? Or is it something that that person is mirroring back to me? Um, so this has been my own personal journey, and something that I'm really, really passionate about in supporting others that are going through that same journey.
Mm.
Because as you go through that journey and you gain wisdom and understanding and knowledge as you age and process through this journey, you can develop tools to be able to help someone else when they hit that wall.
Right.
And that's part of why Rebels Compass started. You know, Mel and I wanted to be able to share our experiences because there's so many people going through the same thing. We call it they wake up. They go from being an unconscious being,
right,
that just
lets life happen to them, and
that's right, to being a conscious being. And when you're a conscious being, you are fully aware that life does not happen to you, it happens through you.
Yeah, you're fully in control of all your experiences.
Yep.
100%.
100%. You know, and whatever it is you have in your heart is the vibration that sets everything out, so that people travel towards you, that resonate, like attracts like. So whatever the vibration in your heart is the people you're going to attract in your life.
Right.
So that becomes the experience you have, so that you can then evolve from that experience and, you know, move to the next experience, or sit in that experience for as long as you need to in order to be able to evolve or move through it.
Yeah, and it's so. What tools do you think you have under you? Like, what if someone was, suffering through, um, pick a hardship, whatever the case may be, what kind of tools do you think you could offer people to get through their situations? Like, what would you say to them? What would you, how would you, if using this Rebels Compass as a platform?
Certainly reach out to us. Send us a message. We have lots and lots of people within our group and energy family, if you like, that have numerous tools. Now, some of the things that I've used over the years is I've been very, very blessed with a handful of people that I can say are non-judgmental. So you will know when someone's judgmental of you, because the first thing is, well, I wouldn't do that. What the hell are you doing that for?
Right.
Well, that's the terrible idea. One, we can call them dream stealers. If you have a dream that you are passionate about, that you really want to pull, you feel that pull from your heart, and they're going to shut you down, and they're going to put that pin in that enormous bubble that you have, because you're so excited that you have finally discovered something about yourself, and you want to move forward and create that. Somebody who's a dream stealer will come along and stick the pin in it, and the first thing they'll say is, well, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
What's the point in that? Well, that's not going to make you money. And they do that because when you evolve and change, they have to do the same, because they can no longer use their responses to get an energy feed from you the way you've always done that. And as soon as you change, that rocks their world, and they don't like that. But some of the tools, like I say, I've had is being able to sound things out with people that I trust, that I know are non-judgmental. I mean, you and I have had an amazing relationship. As my son, I've been able to have that open conversation with you, where I know if I've got something I need to share, you're not in a judgmental state. You feel, you hear, and you respond to whatever it is I'm telling you from your heart.
Right.
When you are compassionate to someone, there's no judgment in compassion, not at all.
Well, it doesn't serve you to be judgmental. I mean,
No,
what what benefit does it get you as a human being to be judgmental of someone else?
The only thing it gets you is keeping you exactly where you are.
It makes you, yeah, exactly, and it's an ego thing.
Exactly.
100% of the time it's an ego thing. When you're judging someone else's success, it's oh, they only got that because of that luck that they had, or so you're almost shutting out other people's experiences.
Yeah.
And you're not aware of what they've been through to get where they're at. So
no, not at all. The other thing that, like I mentioned, I've done Reiki, so doing energy work. It's a space, if you like, where you actually take time for yourself, and you can tap into that energy within you and around you. And when you give yourself space, you allow for answers to come in that, when you're in that monkey mind, don't necessarily come in. Most people don't like silence, because when they sit in silence, they think, and they don't like to think, because when they think, the heart calls to them, and they need to change, and they don't want to change because they like everything that's familiar. So we live in a life of familiarity. We want things to stay the same. We don't want things to change, but life's not like that. The only consistent about life is it changing.
Change, yeah.
It's the only thing. It's like holding your hands up and trying to stop the tide coming. You can't do it. Everything is going to change. So when you feel that pull to step out of familiar into unknown, and that's where it's scary.
It is a scary thing to do, right? When you're trying to change something about, it's like carving out a rut through your entire life, and then it's just like this comfortable rut that you've dug yourself in, and then as soon as you steer away from that path, and you're now in uncharted territory, it's like that anxiety and the what ifs, and that's the thing. When you look to the future, most people will think of what can go wrong. When they say, oh, well, what if I change my life this way, what's going to go wrong? What's going to go wrong? This can happen and this can happen. And instead of looking at what can go right, what positive things could I possibly get out of this? How is this going to make my life easier in the long run? I might go through a period of hardship, but in the bigger picture, it's going to make things a lot easier. And it's about having that ability to look forward in the future and not always focus on the negative what ifs, but the positive what ifs. And make an educated decision on, is that worth it or not?
Yeah. And it's part of how we're entrained. We're entrained from the negative, from being a child. I remember using statements to you that I hated as a child. One of the statements I've used before is my dad's favorite statement was, it's better to sit there and look a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah. And as you were young, I remember saying those exact words to you. And then when I awoke to what I was really saying, it was like, wow, I've never used them since. But that, instead of encouraging someone to say something and to put the hand up in class or to express what they were feeling, you're constantly under this shadow of, I'm not going to open my mouth because if I'm wrong, I'm going to look a fool.
Exactly.
And that moved through my entire life. My entire life, I was always the one that liked to sit in the background and liked to do things for other people or get involved in whatever charity or anything, but always in the background. Life had a different plan. And as
it usually does.
As it usually does. So for me, the most liberating thing that I did, and the scariest thing, the most scariest thing that I think I've done. I've gone through scary things like the accident and, everything that taught me about me, and a surgery that went sideways and everything that taught me about me. But one of the biggest things that I've interacted with, if you like, was moving to Canada,
Mm.
because I was leaving everything that was familiar to unknown, and that is scary.
Absolutely.
That is terrifying.
It is.
And not
And we
only,
both experience that.
yeah, yeah, that is terrifying to leave familiar.
Mm.
When you leave familiar, you leave your comfort zone. However, we can become comfortable with being miserable.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
And we complain every day because we're miserable.
Mm.
We look at everybody around us and they appear to be having a happy life. So you judge them for their appearance of a happy life.
You become cynical about everything.
Yeah. But you never really step outside of familiar into unknown to even explore what you're capable of.
Exactly. And you've got to have those experiences to find out what, it's easy to get, like you said, stuck in a situation where you get comfortable and you might be stuck in a job that you hate, but it pays the bills.
Mhm.
And it's scary to go look for a new job and to build new relationships in another work environment. Or maybe you want to shift gears completely and just, maybe you're stuck in an office one day and you want to completely go the other direction and go back to school or, be an artist or, whatever the case may be. And it's 90% of the time, it's, I don't want to do that because of what, my friends will think or what my coworkers will think or what this person is going to think. So it stops you in your tracks of, getting out of those comfort zones and, trudging a new path and it's most of the time it's because of what other people are going to think of you doing that, not because you're scared of, or don't want to do those changes. It's really that block of, oh, I don't want to because this person's going to think this about me.
It comes again from childhood. My statements to me and to my brother were, what are the neighbors going to think? Always. Well, what are the neighbors going to think? Why do you want to do that? Well, what are the neighbors going to think? What's Auntie Joy around the corner going to think if you do that? Well, what's going to happen if it fails? Because it's going to fail. So I've always been one that's kind of pushed. My brother hates change. So out of the two of us, my brother hates change and likes familiar. I've always pushed and I embrace change because when change happens, I discover me. And wherever that takes me.
I think that's the beautiful thing about hardships as well, is that when you do push yourself to, out of your comfort zones and you do get into those situations that are difficult to, deal with, it thickens your skin. It makes you a stronger person and it makes it that much easier to deal with a situation in the future. Whereas if you're constantly in your same old routine and you don't ever get out of that, because inevitably, like you said, life is going to smack you upside the head eventually, and you're going to be stuck in a situation that you're going to have to deal with, whether you like it or not. So the more you put yourself in those positions, the easier it becomes in the future to deal with a situation like that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Whereas someone that doesn't, it will take them out, and their life will go to shit because they won't know how to deal with it. But yeah, so that I would always recommend try to get yourself out of your comfort zone as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Push yourself to, if you want to try something, doesn't matter if you're going to be good at it. Like this is the first time we've ever really done this as a recording. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, if people are going to watch it, but I don't really care.
Nope.
Because I know that the more I do this sort of thing, the easier it's going to get in the future, and the better you're going to get at it, and the product that you put out is going to be something that is going to grow me as a person, and
it becomes authentic. It becomes authentically who you are, and people will resonate towards that because they feel that. When you was talking earlier about what tools to use, like that, Reiki was the very first thing that I used, and the energy work that I used. And since moving to Canada, that was where my biggest breakthrough came. And I didn't realize until I moved 3,500 miles away how much control my parents had over me with the what if. And I love my mom and dad both of them are gone now, and I love them immensely. But you don't realize the kind of pressure because they raise you out that how they were raised.
Mm.
Okay, and both my parents lived in the war, so everything was about scarcity. Money doesn't come easy. You know, if you brag about yourself, then it's ego, and people won't like you for it.
Mm.
You know, if you stand out in a crowd, well, people are going to notice, and you're going to become a target.
Mm.
And again, what will people think? So I was raised with all of those, and multiples more. So you don't realize how much it stifles who you are and how you want to express who you are when you have those, I call them lampshades,
Mm.
stuck over the top of this glowing light bulb. You keep adding a light lampshade over the top, and then a cloth and another cloth and another cloth. Before too long, there's this very, very dim light
Mm.
that travels around the world but never really shines.
Yeah.
Right? So when I moved to Canada, once I got over the fear of moving to Pakenham and being in this tiny, tiny village, from being where we lived, close to Manchester, that's a busy, like Kanata here.
Right. That's even busier in Canada more than in Manchester.
It took an adjustment. It took an adjustment for sure. But once I adjusted to that, I started seeking out people that was going to help me help myself.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the very first people that I met was a lady called Alison Cochrane, and she did massage and cranial sacral. Now, cranial sacral is an energy work, and they work with the plates in the brain and energy within the body. And you'd have to Google it to find out more because I'm not an expert in it at all. But
maybe one day we can have her on and she can.
That would be phenomenal, and I know she would. But what that did for me is I actually had a past life experience, the very, very first session I had with her, which blew me away because I'd never experienced anything like that. And I'm lay on the table and I said, so I can see something. And she asked me to explain what I was seeing, and I could see me. I could see me. I was male. I was running through a battlefield. It was a battlefield. And I remember saying to her, I'm fighting somebody's battle I don't believe in. And I was running across this field, and all of a sudden a spear came through the air and went straight through my right hip, through my stomach and through my right hip, and I collapsed on the floor. And the person who came and rested my head on their knee, I could see them. And Alison kept saying to me, pull the spear out, pull the spear out. And I said, I can't, I'm dying. So she said, just do it. So the brain does not know the difference between fiction and reality. So when you want to change something in your physical, you can do it by constantly going over that pattern and changing it within the filing cabinet to change that experience. So I did. I pulled this spear out and I collapsed into a deep sleep when she finally woke me up when the energy work was complete. The following morning, I got up to go to work, and my husband at the time, as I was walking across the floor, asked me to walk back. And I wanted to know why. And as I walked back, he said, the limp that you have had for the last 10 years from the bone grafting from your right hip is gone. And it had completely gone. It'd gone overnight. So that shows an energy that was in this area. And everything that doesn't happen, like I said, as an emotional experience there and then, that's triggered something from a past memory. Some of it's emotion, and this emotion traps itself within our body and can show up many, many years later. So for me, this showed up after I had a car accident and after I moved to Canada and realized that I felt free. The first time I wasn't living somebody else's expectation and duty of me. It was for the very, very first time in my life that I was responsible for myself. And nobody knew me. Nobody knew me in Canada. I could be exactly who I wanted to be. It was as though everything that I'd done in my past was erased. And I could just be me.
Fresh start.
Fresh start, yeah. And this experience with the spear going through and me not having a limp anymore, you'll remember I walked for 10 years with walking sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I remember being it was probably, I don't even know how old I was when you were in the accident.
4 years old.
Was I? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was younger than I thought I was. So yeah, basically my entire childhood was you with very restricted mobility. You know, and being able to walk but very slowly, or with a walking stick, or you know, having a wheelchair for a period of time. I remember that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's you know that was most of my childhood was that.
Yeah.
And then again, after moving to Canada and just being in a different environment, like you know, different viewpoint about life. I don't know what, but um, if you would have told anyone, if you met someone on the street right now and said that you had a car accident and that you could barely walk for, you know, 10 or whatever years, you know, they wouldn't believe you because, you know, you would never guess that today at all.
No, and all of that healing has been a self-discovery journey on seeking people out that can help me find me.
Mm-hmm.
So Alison helped with the cranial sacral. I've gone and seen other people, and it's not that when you go, you constantly go to this person, because then they become just another crutch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're always seeking for them to fix you, then it's just another crutch. It just has a different name. The journey that we are on is a journey of finding out remembering who we are,
right,
and rediscovering the beauty and the elegance of who we are.
So, that was funny. I was listening to a podcast the other day with a guy by the name of Duncan Trussell, who I'm going to have to show you some of clips of this guy, because he's a comedian, but he's very into the sort of fringe beliefs and things like that. And he's talking about like your lifespan is something that is, you know, it exists and we move through it almost. And it's something that when you reincarnate, like he believes in reincarnation, that you could literally pick any point of your existence and go right back to that point and pick off, you know, at any point. And he says that we're doing this all the time. And that's what those pulls are, that you feel that deep pull within you to go in a certain direction is that choice that's been made a million, billion, trillion times before that
growth point.
It's exactly. And it's because you've been living this experience forever. You were on a path and you will always be on that path until you decide not to be. And essentially it's these moments that you choose. You can either sit there and do the same old thing that you've always done, or you can decide to make a change and pull yourself out of that time rut, essentially, of what you've carved, you know, throughout your existence, and pull yourself to a different timeline. And it's essentially a different you. And go off onto a different thing of, you know, in reality. And obviously I don't explain it as well as he did, but
no, I get it. I mean, one of the experiences I had in the summer last year when I went back to England, I was there for 7 weeks, and I was sat looking out of the patio window one day, and it was all of a sudden this overwhelming feeling of, I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd have chosen to stay in England, because it would have been completely different from the life I have now. So they're the timelines that we have. They're constantly running every single.
So he would believe that there was one of you that did stay in the UK and that lived that life. And you know, and there's one of you that made that decision. So every time that we make a decision, it splits into another. So you literally do get to experience every experience. It's just, again,
where you put your thoughts and what becomes apparent to you in your reality.
Exactly.
Now.
Yeah. What you build into your reality, for sure. It's interesting to think about, you know, the what ifs of maybe if I would have made this decision or done this thing or done that thing or not said this thing or said that, you know what I mean? How would life be different? And, you know, the real answer is that there's just no way to know. And it's about
we are
saying thank you for what you did choose and
Yeah.
say like, I'm grateful for where I am because of those choices, and how am I going to continue to make better choices in the future to get me to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing too, is about knowing where you want to be. There's a lot of people don't have that. They're just, they have no purpose in life, no sense of direction, no goals to achieve, and they just sort of laze through life and not do anything. And like that goes back to saying, the people that just let life happen to them.
Yeah. The unconscious.
Exactly. And the more self-aware you are of the fact that you literally do create all your experiences, and whatever you want to happen in your life is fully up to you. You just got to get up and go out and get those, have those experiences and do those things.
It's easier, and some of it's harder. I mean, I do believe that every single soul is incarnated with a dream, with something that they really want to do, whether it's sweeping the street.
A purpose. It's a soul purpose. What did your soul incarnate into this physical reality that we find ourselves in? Why is it here?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether it's sweeping the streets and having the satisfaction that that street looks amazing, or whether it's planting flowers in a garden so that that garden looks amazing. Not every single soul is incarnated with this big divine explosive
right to be
plan,
right.
And I think a lot of us get caught up in what is my purpose, because I want it to be this grand gesture that when I leave
behind this big legacy to leave behind.
But how do you know that the big legacy that you leave isn't somebody that you met in a bus stop, that you had a significant conversation with, that propelled their life and changed their life in ways that you will never know, because you'll never see them again.
And even if they would maybe not even know that it was you.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You could literally change someone else's life, and they might not even realize that it was you that put them on that path.
Yeah.
So just by living your life and being a positive person and doing what you can to help others, like you said, that's your calling, going back to that. Do what you can to help, your fellow human beings have an easier experience while they're here.
Yeah.
And again, that can also, it's not always about doing things for other people, but doing things that, like I said, make their experience a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. Instead of going around through life trying to make, complaining about stuff or trying to make other people's existence a living hell.
Yeah.
Why can't we all just say, we have this experiences in this flesh bag that we're in, we're here on this 3-dimensional existence.
Yeah.
Why can't we just help each other out and try to have an easy a good positive experience while we're here.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned along the journey, that actually when I got into doing sound therapy, working with tuning forks and bringing that sense of peace and balance into somebody's physical, that was another accidental journey. I went with my sister-in-law Karen to the Glebe, to the car boot sale that they do there, and met a guy that was doing mini tuning fork sessions.
That's a garage sale for anyone else that's listening.
Oh, sorry. That's the British thing coming back.
Car boot sale.
A garage sale, yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing. But there was this guy doing mini tuning fork sessions, and I sat down, and it was less than 3 minutes. But it ignited something in me that I stood up and said, oh my God, I have to learn how to do this. Because it was so powerful. So that was the next expansion of me. So I did the training on how to do sound therapy, and ended up going to Florida to train to do the sound therapy so I could teach it. Because this is another tool. The more tools that you have in your toolbox, the better.
Absolutely.
So,
and see, that's a big the difference between, someone else could have had that same experience and gone, oh, cool, that's really neat. I'd love to know how to do that. And then gone home and maybe a week later, oh, one day I'm going to learn how to do that. That's really cool. I really wish I could do that. But then never actually get around to doing it. Mm-hmm. And not that they don't have the time. They spend an hour at the end of the night watching TV, or, if playing video games or whatever the case may be. You could take that time to invest in the thing that you said that you really wanted to do. And, like you did that, and now you have those experiences, and now you're trained, and you can you can do that for other people.
Yeah, I can share that with other people.
So that's a key that I think that really defines the people that can see something that they really want and then go out and get it, and then people that say, "Oh yeah, I really want to do that," and then just don't.
Yeah, I've had many experiences. So another experience was going to Montreal to train to do reconnective healing. That was where I had an emotional breakdown while I was there, and the person that was training it did a reconnective healing for me that activated the light language that I speak.
Okay.
That's how I came away from there and cried all the way back to Montreal. From Montreal. And then for the next 2 weeks, nobody could look at me in the face or say, "Hi, Karen," without me bursting into tears. I felt so connected and so emotional and so
like empathic towards people.
Grateful for just who we are. And as soon as somebody said, "Hey, Karen, how you doing?" I was like, "I'm great." And I burst into tears because I didn't know how else to express how I was feeling.
Right.
And then the light language started. And that's been another. That was one of the key things that got me out of my own way. Because I started speaking light language, and it's like, oh, great, now I'm speaking a language nobody understands.
And I think that's, you got to get yourself out of your head, right? Yeah. And as soon as you said it perfectly, you got yourself out of your own way.
Yeah.
You are your own worst block. And it's your thoughts that you go back to, oh, what is this person going to think? What is this person going to think? And I'm sure that, because I don't know if you want to do some of your light language just to, if anyone wants to listen to it. But again, that's one of those things that I think that when you're experiencing this for the first time, that's going to be one of those things that you think, oh shit, what are people going to think when they hear this? They're going to think I'm crazy, or they're going to think something, but to get out of your head and to remove those thoughts, and just do it. I'm sure, and which is what you did. And through doing that, I'm sure you've encountered countless people that have been, oh my God, I love it when you do your,
exactly,
and it's helped a lot of people. So.
Yeah, exactly. And my friend Leslie, who helped offer the space for me to actually share light language in meditation form, because that's how it's best received. Mm-hmm. When you're in meditation, you just receive the frequencies. So light language is, they call soul language or light language, and it's frequencies. It's frequencies of sound and frequencies of light, and people do it in movement as well. And it's not necessarily to be interpreted by me, because each person that hears those frequencies will hear their own frequencies and experience something for themselves. So it's that personal experience that they're experiencing. Right. But that was one of the things that got me completely out of my own way, because my first comment to 5 people that were in the very first meditation group was, if people laugh, I'm leaving. Because I was so afraid of looking a fool and people laughing and walking out and feeling small. And that almost paralyzed me in not doing anything. And it's because of my friend Leslie that kept saying, nope, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. So it's having those positive people next to you that are going to help, just nudge you very, very slightly in the right
helps
direction.
You feel, again, it goes back to judgment as well. Yeah. When you don't feel judged and you feel like you're in a space where you're surrounded by people that are encouraging of what you want to share, it's going to make you obviously more confident and able to express yourself and be the you that you truly are. Yeah. Because I find a lot of the people, they're not themselves. They're a facade of someone who they think other people want to see,
Which goes back to childhood.
Exactly,
and how we're molded and entrained to be this person that our parents want us to be, so our parents can be, quote unquote, proud of us.
Right.
But I can tell you from my experience to my 3 children, I'm proud of all 3 of you. There may have been times throughout your childhood and into your adult life where you've experienced things that I've not been happy with, because it was a choice I wouldn't have made. But ultimately, it's your choice, your experience, your journey, and I'm just a player in your journey.
Right.
Right? So it will never not make me love you or be proud of you.
See, I think when you were saying back to like your parents who raised you in a way maybe they were completely unconscious of what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were just, they obviously thought they were raising you to, the best they could and to be the
Yeah.
best person they,
Yeah.
that you could be. But had no afterthought of, I wonder if me saying this is going to affect her in the future.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to make her?
And most of us don't. I never did when you guys were growing up.
Right, but you have those thoughts. I
Yeah.
think your parents probably went their entire lives and probably had very few of those
Mm-hmm.
those thoughts. Not that that's their fault.
No,
it's a
not.
generational
Yes,
thing, right? They were
exactly.
raised in a time where that just wasn't a concern.
No.
And on a societal thing, it wasn't really a big concern of,
No.
But now we've learned a bit more about sociology and how our brains work and things like that. We realize that, yeah, the very early ages of your life affect who you are going to be
for the rest
of your life.
And then you start pulling layers away to go, that wasn't me,
exactly.
that wasn't me, that
so
wasn't
you
me.
again, so your parents probably went their entire lives and never really thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
You are now thinking about that as a grandmother. Like you
Yeah.
probably went and raised, the three of us
Mm-hmm.
until adulthood and didn't really think too much about, I wonder whether or not I should have said these things.
Mm-hmm.
And see now with your kids are also having kids and are more aware, hopefully, about what they're saying. So those lessons generationally get learned a lot quicker, hopefully.
So you evolve a lot quicker.
Exactly.
You raise your children a lot differently.
Right. So and that's again, someone that is self-aware and thinks about those things will raise a child that thinks about those things a little bit sooner than their parents might have, and come to realizations a little bit sooner than their parents might have, and will be that much more prepared for when they have kids and how to navigate that stuff. So again, you're right. It's an evolutional sort of progression
very, very cool.
that we do.
Yeah. So as far as the light language goes, if nobody has ever heard of that, there's lots of you can go on Google and just put in light language or soul language, and lots of different people will pop up. When I started speaking the light language, one of the things that I received or heard from myself, my internal self or beyond myself, was this was to be received in meditation, because meditation is where we are the most receptive. That's why hypnosis works the way it does, because you go into that different brainwave where you are receptive to other frequencies and sounds. So that's why it was to be shared in meditation. And it's about upgrading. It's about releasing those fears and those blocks that hold you in place. It's about tapping into the eternal light of who you are and acknowledging who you are, and that you have this desire inside of you. And the more you listen to it, the greater peace for me I receive inside of myself. So when there's something frustrating or challenging going on in my life, I'll be driving down the road singing at the top of my voice light language, because it brings me back to center. It makes me feel, I can feel it. It's like a rod right in the center of my being, and I feel completely peaceful within that. So that's also a tool that I use for myself and I can share. So when it goes back to tools for people, when they're feeling that push or that pull to, do I go in this direction or do I go through that direction? I have a change that I need to make, and it's going to affect everybody around me, but I really need to do that change. So
that's cool. So hopefully this can be the platform then to, spread that awareness and,
absolutely,
hopefully we'll have some cool guests on in the future where you can, that really have a more full understanding of what they specialize in when it comes to past life regression things or Reiki healing. I know you're very knowledgeable on that too, so you can maybe touch on that. But yeah, I think it's
well, these are all incredible tools that Rebels Compass is that platform. Mel and I have done this for a long time, and we started looking for a space. how do we reach more people? And this is it.
That's the beauty of the internet and social media,
Oh,
right? Is that
absolutely.
it might have been near impossible to get this kind of message out maybe 20, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
without having a book deal or
Yeah.
something like that, or spending ridiculous amounts of money to travel
Yeah.
and do conferences and things like that, which um, were sparsely attended in a lot of cases. But I think the I don't want to say market for this kind of thing, but the desire, that the openness
Mm.
to having more, um, just more diverse. I'm losing the words that I want to say
Yeah,
here,
no,
but
I know exactly what you mean. And one of the other tools that I highly recommend is doing personal development weekend. Go to a group of where they're doing personal development, where you can be open to share and receive.
mm,
So maybe 5 years ago now, I started with doTERRA, the essential oil. That has propelled me, and I'm using that word propelled, in a direction of pulling away my own blocks and my own fears and the layers that were keeping me in place. I always had this knowing of who I was, but never wanted to be seen. So the Reiki, so the light language got me seen,
mm,
because now I'm not standing in the background. I'm actually, doing meditation groups or with you doing videos that we put online. So that kind of got me from the background into the foreground. But the doTERRA um, is a journey of self-discovery. It really, truly is. When you do the business side of doTERRA, it truly is a journey of self-discovery, because all those limiting beliefs that you have inside of you, you're going to reach those blocks one by one, and you either choose to stay there or you choose to find somebody within that organization or outside of that organization that can support you while you break down that mindset
mm.
that you have yourself in. So that's been a blessing to me in the journey that I now continue on, and part of this and experiencing um, different things that go on in your life, and having essential oils to support, because anything that you smell affects the brain. So you may smell something and it triggers a memory.
Mm.
So we um, have so many different oils that we can help with that. There's an emotional kit that you can use. Um, you can make up your own roller bottles to help. If you have you're doing affirmations, then there's certain aromas that you can use with those, or all of the aromas if you have one particular that you like. If you're breaking through that feeling of not being worthy to reaffirming I am enough, then every time you say I am enough, you use this aroma to reinforce that, so that whenever you smell that, doesn't matter whether it's 30 years from now, when you smell that, you're going to remember I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
enough.
exactly. It's going to trigger that thought and that
Yeah.
feeling that you
Yeah.
have when you smell that,
So they're
for sure.
incredibly, incredibly powerful, and I love that. That was part of my journey and continues to be part of my journey now. So there's lots of people out there that are struggling of feeling lost. I just recently went through that myself in October, November, December, and only up until just recently of that, feeling lost, not knowing where I wanted to go next, because there's so many other things outside of myself that were out of my control. Um, and for me, using these essential oils helped bring me back to center.
Mm.
So I can completely empathize with anybody that's at that point right now where they're feeling lost. They don't know which direction to go in. If you're feeling like that, then send us a private message. There is somebody within our catalog of people that we know. Like Ben said, we're going to start getting these people on one by one to be able to share their tools, to be able to share their experience and how they stepped into their passion, so that it gives you that light and that encouragement and that forum, that platform,
it's a
to be able
support
to,
network.
yeah, absolutely. And that's what Rebels Compass is. It's not about us tooting our own horns, even though today I've experienced or shared my experience and my journey. It's just an experience.
Mm.
It's my experience, and I'm sharing it so that you know that you may have a similar experience, and we all lend a hand and pull each other up one by one instead of pushing somebody down and making them feel small.
Mm.
So the next person that we're going to get on here, I have two of my friends that are within the next 2 weeks going to be on. One of them is my friend Marlene Rodriguez. She's going to share all about the planetary alignments and how powerful these planetary alignments are, and explain how that brings up emotion in us so that we then have an opportunity to release whatever that emotion is that's blocked inside of us. We've just gone through a supermoon. Supermoons make people so emotional because there's things inside of us we never share, things inside of us that we feel that we want to say, but we don't want to hurt someone, or it's not the right time, or so that ends up triggering that emotion. So the supermoon will do that. It will bring up all sorts of emotion. So Marlene's going to talk more about the planetary alignments and also about her personal journey on working with John Newton, who helps release these ancestral blocks. So like you mentioned, my parents are a product of them being raised, and their parents are a product of how they were raised, and so on and so on and so on, until today we are here, and you've been raised this way, and you will continue to raise future children you have a different way. So by helping to understand where you came from and those triggers and those blocks helps to move you forward, because now you understand yourself a little bit better and why you make the choices that you do. And then my other friend, Guylaine Rodriguez, she is a consultant for off-grid living. She's just in the process of building her second off-grid home and is completely passionate about sharing that.
That'd be a cool topic of discussion for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Because I know that was definitely a thing that was becoming more popular, is the off-grid living and like the electric car, just getting away from, the control system of big oil and the big corporations. So yeah, that'd be definitely a cool topic of conversation.
Yeah. So if there's any of you out there watching this video that you have a journey that you want to share, if you have a tool that you want to share, if you have a business that you want to share, this is that platform. Get in touch with us, send us a message, because collectively we can support each other and raise each other up and be the light and the change that we want to see. It starts inside of you. You are the change you want to see. Step into it. And I know it can be very, very difficult to make that first step, and to keep making those first steps from familiar to unfamiliar, or from familiar to unknown, I should say. They're hard steps. There are only two frequencies. Two: fear and love. That's it. You're either in one or the other. You can't be in both of them at the same time. So when you go from familiar to unknown, ask yourself, which frequency are you in? Are you in a frequency of love, where you support yourself and know that this is going to expand you and take you on your next level of your journey, or are you in fear that's holding you back? And I'm usually a person, if I recognize a fear, I kind of face it. I push myself to face that. And one of them was last year. Ben has the video for it.
Yeah, I'll put that up to anyone watching. You'll get to see the video.
So I'm dating Tom, who has a motorbike, and I'm terrified of motorbikes, or I was terrified of motorbikes, and it was an unrealistic fear for me because I'd never, ever, ever sat on a motorbike. Never. I'd ridden a bicycle, but I had never, ever, ever ridden on a motorbike. So when he asked me to go for a bike ride, it was like, no, I'm not doing that. But when I recognized that I was afraid, then I had to go and find out why I was afraid. Because it wasn't as if my accident wasn't involved in a motorbike. That didn't come from that experience. It was something else. And it took me a couple of weeks to find out, to keep asking myself that question. So why am I afraid? And each word or sentence that came up, it was being honest enough with myself to go, no, that's not it. And I kept asking and asking and asking until one day I was washing up at the sink and I said, so why am I afraid to go on this motorbike? And the only word that came up was trust. That was massive. And it was like, whoa, now I know it's trust. So it was about me trusting me to make the right choice. It was about giving my life, if you like, to sit on the back of a motorbike and trust that someone else was going to keep me safe and make sure that I was going to arrive at my destination the way we had promised that we were going to arrive at our destination. And that trust is in everything that we do. It's every conversation. It's every interaction. So it was down to trust. So it was been about breaking away those layers of, so do I trust me? Do I trust me to make a choice? Do I trust me to want to have a great experience in life, or do I not? And so I decided I was going to get on this motorbike, and we videoed it last summer, and this is the first chance I've had to share that.
Hang on. Let's get it on with.
You're videoing this already? Yeah. Oh my God! So don't tell anybody ever that you're going to face Sophia.
I will.
There you go.
Oh, if I keep the glasses off, I can't see.
You can put your glasses, yeah. Yeah. There you go. Okay, don't forget to. There you go.
Come on, Mom, jump on. Wait till I get Kat. Wait till Kat moves over there. Got your foot pegs?
You've done horse riding. That's the same thing. It's just like a horse riding.
On your peg?
There you go. Otherwise, you'll burn yourself.
Okay, you just sit there. I do the work. I'm gonna follow you to the end of the street. Off she goes. Yeah. So how was that, Mom?
Oh my God!
Did you like it?
If you could have heard me laughing under the... Oh.
Hang on. You're stuck with the helmet there.
Great.
How's she gonna be dying now for like 20 minutes?
Oh my God. And I was scared. I was scared about I laugh a lot when I'm scared. I got on the back of that motorbike, but I'm glad that I did, because it was a great experience. And will I do it again this summer? Absolutely. Do I want to go down the highway yet? Maybe not.
We'll work up to that.
Yeah, but that's it. You don't have to jump
Into the deep end.
No.
No, definitely not. And that's what I said. The more you put yourself in situations that get you out of your comfort zone, the easier it becomes to deal with that when it inevitably comes up in your life anyways.
Yeah.
So, props to you for facing your fear on getting on a motorcycle.
It's funny, watch it.
Yeah, I'll post that video at the end of.
Yeah.
So
But it's
sorry.
good. No, I was going to say, if you've got that feeling to break free, start playing in the puddles first. Feel what the puddles feel like.
Yeah, get your feet wet.
Get your feet wet, and then go to the lakes, and then go to the ocean, and then go to the deep end. And one of the things that happened to me just recently that made me understand this concept a little bit more was going to England just recently. So my flight was delayed. I was supposed to go from Montreal to Ottawa to Manchester. Well, I didn't end up in Manchester. My flight got delayed, so I got put on another flight and ended up in Glasgow, Scotland. And then from Glasgow, Scotland, got a taxi, which is a 4-hour drive to Manchester. But what that made me look at is my destination was Manchester. I got to my destination.
The journey wasn't how you expected it at all.
The journey was not what I expected at all. but it was another adventure, another experience. And this is it with life. You have that destination inside of your heart. You know who you are. You know where your destination is. Whether you take multiple journeys and stop and not do anything for a year and then get back on and do another little bit and then stop for 2 years and then get back on a little bit. Every single thing you do expands you. You learn a tool by maybe diverting off to the right that you may not have learned if you'd have gone straight on. So everything that we do has an impact in who we are. It has an impact in our experience. It has an impact in our wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of who we are. And you will always arrive at your destination, whatever that is.
Exactly. And this is what I was saying earlier, about the people that look at their lives and have a goal and have a destination. Like one person I always quote is Gary Vaynerchuk. If people don't know who he is, he's an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, awesome guy. So look him up on the internet. But he basically says, you want to be motivated, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. So what are you gonna do? You have your birth date, whatever that is, the little dash in between, and the date that you die. What are you gonna do with that little dash in between?
Yeah, we've just done that. I just did a personal development weekend in February, and the guy that was the motivational speaker, actually did that. He drew a line on a whiteboard and said, okay, 0 is the time you were born. What's your age now? What year do you expect to die? Or how old do you expect to be when you die? So for me, 98. I put 98. Well, now I'm 58. So
you got 40 years.
40 years. What do I want to do in that 40? Do I want to sit on my butt? Do I want to just let life happen to me? Or do I want to let life happen through me? It always happens through you, whether you decide or not. But,
it's how you want it to happen through you.
Want it to happen
and that choice is yours. Because like you said, you can make the choice to sit there and do nothing and just, go to your work every day, pay your bills, go to sleep, do it all again the next day, wake up 20 years later and say, oh shit, I had a few good occasions, but wow. Or you could, or you could, really take your life into your own hands and make every single day something where you're saying, okay, I'm building towards something that where I want to be. And I have this amount of time to do it in. Go. There's no time like the present, really, because that's all there ever is.
Exactly.
So
I invite every single one of you to do the timeline. It is phenomenal for you to look at that drawn on a piece of paper and go, whoa. Really, really, truly draw the line in on the paper and say, where do I want to go now? Because ultimately it's only up to us. And there's lots of people out there that will support you, that will help you get where you want to go, that will give you the tools or show you where the tools are. If you've got negative people in your life that are dream stealers,
there's always going to be haters out there and mostly they do it because of their own jealousy and their own
lack of motivation.
Exactly. So it's like the crab in the bucket syndrome. You see someone else, climbing their way out of the bucket, and the first thing you want to do is drag them back down to your level. Say, no, you can't do that because of this reason, because of that reason. And it's like, no, you can't do that because of that reason and that reason. Don't project that shit onto me. I'm going to live my life how I want to live my life, regardless of what you think. And that's the way to achieve. If you're constantly going through your life scared of what other people might think of you because of making a decision in your life, who the fuck is anyone else to decide whether that was a good decision or not, except for you? Do it, have the experience, decide whether or not it was a good one, and if you want to keep doing it, keep doing it. If not, change your direction and make it a positive one.
Like using your GPS.
Yeah.
There's a roadblock ahead. Turn left.
Exactly.
Turn right.
So going back, the journey to the destination could be zigzagged all over the place and take you on journeys that you never would have expected. But as long as you can sort of keep maintaining a destination, a goal of where you want to end up in the end, then you won't go too far wrong.
No. And if you are one of these people like I was, and still have this cropping up, well, I don't want to fail. failure is just another way of finding out how to do something.
Exactly, and people should embrace failure, in my opinion.
yeah.
I think a lot of people think that, you know,
Fail forward.
right?
That's the word.
It's the process.
Yeah.
You have to fail. You can't you that it's the most important part of growing is
Mhm.
failing
Yeah.
and figuring out, okay, that didn't work, what will.
Yeah.
And it's about having the wherewithal and, again, the self-awareness to reflect on that. But yeah, absolutely, failure is part of the process, and I think just do and do and do and do and fail a million times if you
Yeah.
have to until
I know I
you
have.
succeed once, because
Yeah.
that's all it takes, right?
Yeah. So
Well, you only need to succeed once.
Yeah.
You fail a million times, and it will always get you to that next step. And
Yeah.
hopefully, if you're wise enough, you can learn from your failures and your
Yeah.
mistakes and grow. And it only takes one success.
I think the only time failure, in my feeling and understanding, the only time failure is a negative is when you continue to do the same thing over and over and over and over again and never get,
Or not try at all. I think
not
it was
try at
one
all.
thing that you
Yeah.
said to me that sticks. Is that there is no failure. The only failure is not trying.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that you said to me, and I will never forget. And that,
Yeah.
and because I do believe that
Yeah.
the only failure you'll ever really have is just not trying at all.
Yeah.
Because there is no failure in trying, and you might not have the success that you wanted, but that's not necessarily a failure. It just
Maybe the timing wasn't right.
exactly, it just didn't happen how you thought it might.
Yeah.
So just keep trying, keep going, keep doing, do
you know
all the
what?
time.
Ben, there's a billion things in my life that haven't turned out the way that I expected them to. But every single solitary thing that I have experienced, I take the knowledge and the understanding.
It's gotten you
that.
to
It's
where
got
you
me
are right now,
right
right?
now,
So
sat right here.
exactly. So
Yeah.
what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, right?
Yeah, so they say.
So and that's basically the same, perspective.
Yeah.
Is if it doesn't kill you, just keep
doing it.
going.
Keep
It's going to
doing it.
make you stronger, and you're going to be
Yeah.
better off because of it.
And I tell you, when you take each one of those lampshades off and you start to shine the light of who you are inside, be ready for people to move out of your way because, and gravitate
Towards you,
also.
exactly, yeah.
So those that are the naysayers and the dream stealers will step aside because your light is just too bright.
Mm.
And those that are meant to gravitate towards you to be part of that journey will gravitate towards the light.
And I think you're always going to, anyone that's achieved any amount of success, especially in today's day and age when we have social media and everyone's so connected,
Yeah.
that anyone that says or does anything that's slightly out of, is going to get jumped on.
Oh, yeah.
So we live in a world where there's always going to be haters and trolls and people that try to put you down and say negative things.
Mhm.
And that's always going to be the case. You're never, ever going to really get rid of those people. It's
No.
about not letting those people have control over you and how you navigate your own life and experience.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's especially when like doing something like this that's eventually going to be put on the internet for the world to see.
Yeah.
You're going to have people that are like, yes, that's amazing, we want to hear more, and you're going to have people that are just not into it.
Yep.
And that's going to be the way it is. And some people might leave hateful comments, but I'm not going to let that stop me from
Me either.
doing this. I just turn around and say, well, fuck those people.
Well, all I'll say is this is my journey, my experience.
Yeah.
If something comes up for you, well, too bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to thank Ben and Vocal House Studios for allowing me to be here today to do this rather than recording it off my phone, which is a whole hell of a lot easier.
And it's only going to get better too once I, like I said, get
This is a learning experience for both Ben and I.
yeah. So it's going to be a fun experience for the both of us.
Yeah, and I look forward to bringing more people on in the future. And if there's anything that you want to see, and we can connect to those people.
Yeah, any topics that you want, just leave a message.
Yeah, anything. We'll do our best to bring those people to those topics in because we need a platform to go to, and this is it. This is it. So have an amazing day, everybody. Be the light inside of you and shine the way you were meant to shine. And we'll see you again on Sunday, the 9th of March, when we're going to be doing a live podcast with my friend Marlene about the planetary alignments and her experience of working through blocks. So look forward to seeing you then. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.